What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are checking out the new iPhone 17e. So this is Apple's entry-level iPhone, and I'm going to pretend that's what the E stands for, entry level. Apple says it stands for economical or essential. None of that matters though. This is the cheapest iPhone Apple offers, and it's the successor to last year's iPhone 16e. Now, last year's E had some missing features that seemed like they were a simple omission to tee up an easy upgrade to this new refreshed 17e. And that's basically what Apple did. This isn't an all-new or totally different device, just a slight refresh. If you skipped the 16e expecting a perfected next year release, well, you got it. And I think this is about as complete of an entry-level iPhone as we're going to get right now. The iPhone 17e is definitely a bare essential iPhone, and to be completely honest, if you truly care about certain things like multiple camera lenses or a high refresh rate screen, this is not the phone for you. But if you just need an iPhone to stay connected to the world, and one that offers you the full iOS experience, and you, for some reason, don't want a used couple-year-old iPhone, you want something brand new and current, then this is pretty much it. So I'm going to go over everything you need to know about this new iPhone 17e. I'll talk about what's new and what's changed from last year, briefly touch on the couple of things you do miss out on versus the regular iPhone 17 that's one step above this, and hopefully this will give you an idea if an essential or economical iPhone E is the one for you. First things first though, as always, let's just quickly unbox it and see what comes inside the package here. It's a pretty little box that Apple always has had for these iPhones, and sliding off the lid, you're immediately greeted by the shiny new iPhone 17e. I obviously got mine in pink, which is just about the most subtle shade you could imagine. It's like the essence of pink. Setting that aside, you'll then come across your USB-C cable for charging, and this is the super nice USB-C to USB-C braided nylon cable. Apple didn't cheap out here, fortunately, on the only accessory they include. Last but not least, you still get a couple sheets of paperwork, yet another reminder that US iPhones are eSIM only, along with some regulatory information. No Apple stickers, no quick start guide, nothing else inside the box here. With all that stuff out of the way, here is the new iPhone 17e once again. And as we get it powered on, let's go over pricing, since that's probably the number one deciding factor in choosing this phone. The iPhone 17e is $599, and you get 256 gigabytes of storage for that price. That is an upgrade over last year, essentially double the storage for the same price, and you can spec up to 512 gigabytes for $200 more, $799. I wouldn't recommend doing that though, unless you just really, really want this phone, or maybe this is the only option you have, because at $799, you could instead get the regular iPhone 17, which is a better device on multiple fronts. Apple's iPhone pricing structure for the entire 17 series now is pretty simple. You go from $599 to $799 to $999 for the Air, and then only $100 more for the 17 Pro and another $100 on top of that for the Pro Max. 5 current iPhones to choose from now, with this obviously being the least expensive of the bunch. So what do you get for basically $600? Well, for starters, at 6.1 inches, this is technically the smallest iPhone in the lineup as well as the cheapest, but it's not really small. It's bigger than the old iPhone minis, RIP, and is just 0.2 of an inch smaller in screen size than the regular iPhone 17, which you can see here. You won't notice that 0.2 of an inch difference, but you will notice the thicker black borders framing the screen and the notch up at the top, which is sort of the older screen style that Apple last offered on the iPhone 14. No dynamic island here, the first of the few differences versus a regular iPhone. And in the hand, like I said, it's not really a small phone. I'd be surprised if you could seriously feel this phone's smaller dimensions. It feels like any other regular sized iPhone from the last few years. Around back, you saw already that this is in fact the pink color. The other options you have for this phone are just black or white. so kind of boring, and Apple didn't even offer this color last year, so hooray, I guess, for giving us something, but this is a very pale pink, especially in bright light. It might look more professional or casual if you're worried about that, but I'd hardly call this a color, just a very light shade. Apple didn't skimp out on the build with the E. This is a premium, all glass and all aluminum iPhone like you'd expect. It looks the part, it feels sturdy, and there is literally nothing cheap or economical about the form factor at all. In fact, Apple even upgraded the glass covering this display. It's now the Ceramic Shield 2 glass, which the regular iPhones have. So chalk up another tally in the upgrade column over the 16E, and it means this phone should be a little tougher if dropped and a little less prone to scratches on the screen. On the left side of the phone, you'll find the volume button and customizable action button, all very familiar. On the right, you'll notice there's only the power button, no camera control button, which is difference number 2 from the other more expensive iPhones. Apple has offered camera control for a couple of years now, but to be honest, I'm totally okay with it not being on this phone. I don't really use it on my other iPhones, and the 17E, by the way, still has visual intelligence as part of Apple Intelligence, but rather than being activated by the camera control like on other iPhones, it's just a control center button. So you still have easy access to that feature, you just don't have the unnecessary camera side button. There's nothing really at the top of the phone. On the bottom, your USB-C charging port is sandwiched between some microphone and speaker holes. The Face ID notch, selfie camera, and secondary speaker are all up there at the top, and around back, that single camera setup, which I'll definitely need to talk about in just a minute. So if you want to just call out the single biggest E thing about the iPhone 17E, it's definitely the display. And not just because of the notch and the bezels, but because of the specs that make up the overall viewing experience. This 17E once again offers a Super Retina XDR OLED panel, which is good on its own, and a better than 1080p resolution, 1170 by 2531 for a pretty crisp 460 pixels per inch. But say it with me, it's only a 60 Hz refresh rate display. No 120 Hz, no ProMotion, and actually, at just 1200 nits of peak brightness, it's quite a bit dimmer than the regular iPhone 17's display as well. That, I don't think, is as noticeable, at least until you're in direct sunlight, but when you adjust the brightness yourself indoors, I don't think it's a dim-looking screen at all. It's perfectly fine. The 60 Hz panel, though, I mean, look, if you aren't really sure what a high refresh rate screen is, or you don't care, or you've never had one before, maybe you're coming from an older iPhone SE or iPhone 13, something like that, then this rant is irrelevant. But for everyone else in the know, I agree that there's no reason to not have a ProMotion display for this entry-level iPhone. There are dozens of sub $200 Android devices that have at least 90 Hz displays, let alone 120 Hz. And even comparing iPhone to iPhone, I do think the display on the regular iPhone 17 is different enough and better enough at this point to justify getting that phone just on the display alone. I do generally agree that the folks who don't care about ProMotion on this phone probably also don't care about the notch, don't care about camera control, don't care about the single camera setup, and maybe don't care about a couple other things too. They just want the bare minimum iPhone that's familiar, that they can use for the essentials, and that is what this is. But I think the display is just so important to the enjoyment of a smartphone. It's the single most important thing, and if there was ever an element that didn't deserve to be E'd out, it's the screen. But I guess this leaves Apple one more thing to possibly upgrade for the next new iPhone E. If you do like the viewing experience, you'll like the listening experience even more. The dual speaker setup on these iPhones, the big main one at the bottom and the secondary one in the earpiece, I think is the best on a smartphone, and it's all the same on this iPhone 17E.
And I don't wanna lose you, and there's nothing you could do. It feels warmer when you're here. I get shivers when you have to go. And I can miss you on the west side, just that you won't owe me a ton of.
Powering this new iPhone is another new or upgraded component. We now get Apple's A19 processor paired with 8 GB of RAM. If you're going off of name alone, that is technically the same processor as the regular iPhone 17, though it's not an identical component. This is sort of a nerfed down version of the A19 chip with both the CPU and GPU. Are you going to notice that difference? No, absolutely not. It's not significant enough to make this phone feel any slower. And for all intents and purposes, this is a current, new iPhone powered by Apple's current, new processor. I'm actually surprised by this. We saw a couple of years ago, Apple wasn't afraid to just not upgrade the chip on a new regular iPhone from the previous year. And arguably, going from the A18 last year to the A19 this year isn't even a huge upgrade either. In fact, on Apple's webpage for this phone, they don't even compare the 17E to last year's 16E. They list the older SEs, the iPhone 11 and 12, as previous benchmarks to stack up against this new phone. Basically, like I mentioned earlier, even Apple doesn't expect you to be upgrading each and every year. Chances are you are probably coming from one of those older iPhones after waiting for this one. And the new processor does bring this 17E up to the current standards. It's a 1-year newer phone in components, which should also yield you at least an additional year of software support and longevity, which is great. Speaking of software, Apple does literally nothing to differentiate this iPhone from the regular or Pro iPhones with iOS. This is the full-fledged, full-featured iOS experience you'd expect to see, with all things Apple Intelligence and everything else you can think of. I don't necessarily think Apple Intelligence is a feature at the moment, like the Apple stores might want you to believe, but if this ever becomes something, this phone will get all those updates. And it'll get full-on iOS updates for probably 6 to 7 years, I'd imagine, at least. All the SEs and iPhones before it have continued to be supported in the long run, like the higher-end iPhones, with a full-fledged iOS experience. So, like I said, literally nothing here is different from any other iPhones. You'll still enjoy the fast, fluid iOS experience with all the features, all the software updates, for better or worse, and all the powerful performance that all your friends have without potentially spending 4 figures on a phone. So I think, understandably, a lot of people's biggest complaint with last year's iPhone 16e was just the fact that it simply did not support MagSafe, nor wireless Qi 2 charging, just the slower speeds, which was bizarre, truly, since MagSafe is basically just a circular magnet stuck inside the back of the phone, and Apple has a billion MagSafe accessories and a billion more third-party MagSafe accessory makers. So naturally, everyone expected MagSafe to be an upgrade the following year, and voila, we were all right. The iPhone 17e supports MagSafe accessories, and its wireless charging capabilities have been upgraded to the 15-watt Qi 2 standard. The battery size is still the same, 4,005 milliamp hours. The wired charging speed is the same too. You can go from 0 to 50% in about half an hour. But hallelujah for MagSafe, because aside from just being Apple's standout accessory feature, it's just a great add-on to have in general for day-to-day use. I also should mention that battery life on this phone might be a tad better with the upgraded A19 processor I explained earlier, doing some behind-the-scenes optimization. But I wouldn't say anything here is a major battery or power upgrade, again, aside from MagSafe. Finally, the other major E element to this iPhone 17e is, once again, the single rear camera setup around back. We all know this, and this 48 megapixel fusion lens is the exact same one from last year's 16e. So really no camera upgrade whatsoever for this new phone. There's a minor new add-on for portrait pics, focus control, but besides that, you're utilizing a single lens setup with just 10 times optical zoom, no ultra wide, and very few of the features and functions that make the regular and Pro iPhones so very camera focused. On top of that, the selfie camera on the 17e didn't get upgraded either, which I might consider as the bigger L, because you don't get the new center stage selfie camera the other iPhone 17s have, with the landscape field of view and portrait orientation and the multiple other enhancements. That should have been another teed up, easy upgrade for this phone, but maybe that feature goes along with all the other camera features that were omitted as non-essential, or perhaps it's one more upgrade they're saving for the following year. The nice part is, this iPhone still takes a great picture, both with the single rear lens and the same old selfie camera. There's nothing wrong with a simple snap and shoot setup. There's portrait mode still, there's 4K video recording. There's enough probably for the couple of occasions you might need something a little more within the camera app. You just don't get the variety, the features, the functions, the camera setups that have been a standout feature for the rest of the iPhones for really the last few years now. So here's everything that's new with this new iPhone 17e. You get double the storage, 256 gigabytes, for the same $599 price as last year. The screen glass is now ceramic shield too, so it's tougher and less prone to scratches. Probably. It's powered by the current A19 processor, which is a slight performance boost and puts it in line with the other iPhones pretty much. And you can pair it up with all the MagSafe accessories of the world and utilize the faster 15-watt wireless G2 charging speeds if you have the right products. And oh yeah, it comes in pink this year. Or pinkish, light pink, very light pink. Is that enough to upgrade from last year's 16E if you bought that phone? Well, no, probably not. And like I said, Apple isn't even expecting you to do that, it seems like. But if you skipped last year, knowing the next E would be better, you did good. Get this one now, I guess. And if you're still finding things to criticize about this new iPhone 17e, well, then just get the regular iPhone 17 or a Pro model from a couple of years ago. The 17e was never the phone for you anyway, you know too much. But what do you guys think? Is the iPhone 17e something you'd consider? Was there something I maybe missed about this phone? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.